Solidity. What is the Solidity and what is the difference between Solidity and other language? Typically, Solidity is a language like other language, like JavaScript, like C++, if you know in the past. It's designed to be run on EVM. It's a node on the blockchain, specifically for Ethereum. So when you're using this language, you can deploy your code on EVM and on blockchain to run your software there. One useful tools that is to write and compile and deploy the Solidity code on the blockchain is Remix, which we are going to use it today. It's a wallet. It keeps your wallet address, and you can use it to connect to the Web3 applications. We need to have a MetaMask set up on your browser as well to bring forward. And that's it. Let's start coding our first code. Yeah.
I have one question regarding to the MetaMask. Like, do you consider MetaMask as a line node or full node?
Sorry?
Like, do you consider MetaMask as a line node or full node? On the full blockchain.
MetaMask is not a node. MetaMask is a wallet. A wallet is something that you keep your tokens there. You have one public ID, public key, and one private key. You keep the private key in your safe and use the public key to transfer token between you and the other parties that you want to connect. You use some wallet like MetaMask to be able to connect to the Web3 applications, dApps, decentralized apps.
So you don't store any on-chain data?
No, so a MetaMask wallet doesn't have any execution or consensus of the Ethereum blockchain.
Gotcha.
You need a wallet to do transactions on the blockchain, but it has nothing to do with the execution or consensus. It's not a node.
We are going to go to the Remix. Remix is an online tools that you can use, as I said, to write your Solidity codes and debug it and deploy it on blockchain. We are going to use it today. Everybody that has a laptop, we want to go to their Remix and I'm going to create a new document. You can create a new document by this button with a new file. You can open the file, you can connect to GitHub and get the code from GitHub and some other things available in this tools. I'm going to create my first system.
Excuse me. What's the title of this workshop?
Sorry?
What's the title of this workshop?
The title?
Yeah, like what?
This workshop, as it presented, I think you saw it, it's Solidity for beginners.
Okay.
And I think in advertisement it mentioned bring your laptop and we are going to create some basic Solidity codes.
Can I ask a question? Like, as compared to using Truffle and VS Code or something, how I mean, Remix is browser-based and all that. So, any other pros or cons you think of, why Remix better than other options or vice versa?
For sure, data tools are more professional. We are going to use online tools to make sure everybody can use it, and it doesn't recommend a premium solution for simplicity. We are going to use Metis.
So Remix has some limitations that what I can do with other tools I might not be able to, like some examples.
I don't know the examples, but then you use something like a visual report or Twitter. You have a more user friendly because it's Windows based rather than online tools like browser based. Because when you use Remix, you have to live on browser. Yeah. Okay. The first code that is mandatory and to be reached for the license. And after that, the word program. Probably. I can't read it. Yeah. They're going to use the version 0.804.
You can choose copy from existing.
I don't know how many of you know the class in C or language. Then we create a class, we name the class and the class name, and under that class we can have variables, functions, and so on, like object-oriented coding. In Solidity, we have a similar concept and similar usability. Instead of the class, we use a pragma. So we use pragma to mention what version of Solidity we are using, and we're using the contract like class in the object-oriented programming, and the name of the contract. I'm going to use a string variable in the body of the contract. Yes.
So, I mean, I've been coding in like a pretty long time, frankly. So, what is it that we're like building right now? And like, what does each line represent?
Oh, what is line represent? As I mentioned earlier, the first line is the license, and the second line is actually we tell the compiler this code is compatible with what version of Solidity. We have different version of the Solidity. Each version has its own compiler. One code could work with one version and not working with another version. They improving the language and the syntax are different. So it is important to use the right version and using the same version of the compiler when you compile your code. And the third line number 4 is the name of the contract. As I said, like the object-oriented programming in the C++, in the old language, we had class and class name and other things like functions, like variables and all other stuff. Here is similar. Instead of using the class, we use a contract. Contract name, and the body of the contract. Okay, and so far I created a new variable, line number 6. The type is a string, and I introduce one variable value. Okay,
And then what are we making today?
we are going to just write 2 functions to set some value in this variable and read it. That's it. And deploy it on the Metis. And for this exercise, the goal is to write in the hello world class server and hello world. The basic. Hello world in I don't know what
Hello is.
Hello
Hello
world.
world, normally we say hello world is the first 3-line or 5-line code that we create and we start learning some language.
It doesn't really do anything.
Yeah.
It's just like a proof of concept kind of thing.
Gotcha, thank you.
The pragma solidity that's required, that's the version you compile the way. So when you deploy a smart contract and it run, like how it's backwards compatible,
Yes, I'll show you in next step. When I'm going to compile it, I'll show you like that also. So yeah, for shoes, we don't have the yeah, this duplicate another. Okay. Okay. Now we have a variable. We want to be able to set some strings, some value to this variable. So I'm going to write a function. I name it for set. I'm going to get a string. Instructions. Now I mention is the type of memory and now shells. For C1 for C1 we plus C okay correct E3 side.
Why you put underscore for variable?
You can put whatever you want.
Okay, I got it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
You can
have
change.
a question.
Yes, sir.
So normally, for example, in C++ or Java, so like let's say that you have the value, right? And the name of the parameter is also value. Like in Java, you do like this dot value equals value. And can we do that in Solidity as well? If not,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes, you can. You can create some enum, for example, to say, okay, this enum has this different type and select it from there as well.
Yeah, but in Solidity, I usually select people do either like underscore val or like val underscore, and I don't see them like writing like this dot like value equals like value really.
Different handwriting.
Like,
Different.
is that like something like, is there a reason why people don't do that or?
You know, the main reason is readability. For example, I normally use underscore in my codes because when I'm reading the code, whatever has underscore, I know it comes from from outside.
So for the compiler, it doesn't matter. If it's like this dot value equals value.
No, it doesn't matter. It's just for writing something that is readable and we can proceed with.
Got it.
Can you again explain, please, what does memory keyword means?
Yes, later. I have well explaining clearly that subject. Okay, let's going forward and harass the bus. Okay. So what did I write? I created a function. What does a function do? You can select some quotes inside on the function and reuse it again and again whenever you want. And with the modifier the public, I say okay, everybody can use this function. So everybody can set the parameter value to something. Okay. And we need another function to get the data file. And we don't pass any parameter and at trade we're going to reach it to the public.
And as we say, it's should be so we should change anything like the function and the return history. Now, man, they just return then. Right. And simple. Semicolon has no more private we use semicolon and the which and the set. Okay. So so far we have one variable. We have the function to set that variable to something. And we have another function to read that value from and that is. But what if somebody right away push the get? We need to set something in that value when the smart contract is created. For that reason, we can use the constructor. Exactly the same as constructor in classes. We can use construct now. Okay. Function. It opens. And we can say okay value. It falls through. On Crawford. Hello.
They do. That's total.
Unperiod servers.
No.
Oh.
Hello.
Hello. It's like UW. There you go.
Oh, but they need air.
Now you're happy.
That's it.
That's a caliber. That's means it. That's more.
Sorry, could you explain a little bit further on that get function? So
Yeah.
Is this like TypeScript where you have to identify what type of variable that Clee will return? Is that the reason that you
The string, yes. When we say okay, return what? A type it should expect a string from memory.
and a memory is a identifier in the language itself, like a
Yes.
keyword.
And I'll explain it later. We have the storage and memory. The difference of storage and memory, I'll explain it about that. Okay.
So can you see on purpose of the method class, which ones?
Yes. Yes, those are.
And really, like, what is a bit sorted? Was it available? If we can do the April or?
Yes. You can use different words like private, public. Public means everybody can add exactly to this function. It's done.
It is porting the day.
The view. The view is a type of function, and we can't use the view word in the then you use this function. It tells that you cannot change the state of the variables inside this function. It just will. If you change something, we get the Within?
Can you just quickly explain all the logic one more time of like what's pre-created?
Yeah, sure. Okay, it's very simple. We created a variable in the body of the contract.
You start from like the top.
Sorry, from the top. Okay. The first one, the line number 1 is the license. It's mandatory. It's just a permit in showing that who has the license, right? of the smart contract. Pragma Solidity, you build the compiler, you are writing this code based on what version of Solidity. And we mentioned the version number is 0.84 and 0.4 and simple. We use the name contract to show the compiler. This is the contract that we are going to execute.
So you're naming the contract, my first contract, like you're specifying.
This contract, we named it my first contract.
That's everything below it. It's called my first contract.
Yes, from the project and display. All is the body of that contract. We introduced one variable in the main body of the contract. We mentioned the type of that variable is a string. So that value expects something like this one and some string. You can keep in that variable. We created a constructor in the body of the contract to set the default value of that variable. We put hello world. We might have that variable. We created two functions. One to setting the data in that variable and creating that data from that variable. That's very basic code. It's clear? It's clear enough? Okay, thank you. Okay. Now let's
Can you define like constructor a little bit? Just like let's say if for any other crate, it's like why do you need the constructors most?
Constructor you normally use when you want to set some default value for your variables. Normally you put that definition and populating with the default value in that constructor. It will automatically execute when the contract is created. For example, later, if we got the time, we have the token project. When you want to keep the owner of the contract address in the contract, you put it on constructor. In the constructor, because it will run once when the contract is generated. It's deployed on the blockchain. It gets whoever deployed it into the blockchain, it gets the wallet address and save it in that variable and store it inside the contract. So it's immutable, and always you have the owner of this contract in that variable. And in future we can use it to do some execution. For example, if you want to mint a token or whatever, you can say, okay, if I'm the owner, to check the wallet address with that variable. If it's matched, it understands that you are the owner of that contract, and we can set some functionality specified for the owner, like minting the token or NFT or whatever. Okay, so we are going forward with compiling this smart contract. If I go to this part,
do we have Solidity? Let's know where use the version. Okay, in the compiler of the remix, there are one beauty checkbox which I use, auto-compile. If it's checked while you are writing the code, it shows the error messages, like I used S for this. It shows the
sign there and describe the error message there, and everywhere in your code, and it helps you to write your code, and it shows if you did some mistakes in the code. It helps you to write the code. And after that, you can compile it, check it. Then you see the checkbox, the green check here. It shows it's compiled successfully. The other thing I wanted to show you the version of the compiler. As I said, I'm using 0.8.4. You see it was compiled successfully against the compiler version 8.7. So 8.7 is compatible with 8.4. You can use a different version of the compiler to compile your code.
Actually, it's this. It's big.
I selected the 8.4 and it auto-compiled, and the checkbox is here as VT option kill.
So why we go here? I mean, at caution viewer.
Sorry?
How we activate into one?
You see here there are auto-compile. This auto-compile, if you check it, if you make a mistake, it shows you. Like this. If you remove the checkbox, it doesn't show. It does also right it off.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
And the next step is deploying this smart contract on blockchain. I went to the next step. And from here you can select where you want to deploy it. I'm going to deploy this smart contract first on Ethereum testnet, and after that we are going to deploy it on Metis. We have different options here. All of them are testnets. I'm going to use the Remix default network to deploy. It gives you some test wallet address that you can use, and each one has 100 test Ether for you to be able to test your application. And the things you need to do is just pushing the deploy button. Just make sure you selected the right smart contract. It shows just one because we just have one here. If you create a different file, you can select the right contract from here and push deploy. And that's it. It's deployed. You see the checkbox and it says it's successfully deployed. You can see the data, the address, and all the different things from this window, and test the code here. Okay, we have two buttons here to test our application, or that we deployed on the net. If you remember, we had two functions, set and get, and both of them were public. They showed up here. What if I push the get? What should I expect to see?
Hello world.
Hello world. Yeah, that's it.
How did you push it? You have money? I have no money, even the test money.
Sorry?
I don't have test money. How did you put it on the test net?
Everybody has.
If you use Remix VM, it has.
Oh, really? Yes. And here you have, and just push the and then you deploy it here.
It's gonna be
Return, there's,
I pushed it here, and I got hello.
You see it? Yeah.
Okay, so now let's use the set.
Okay.
I put my name and me to set the variable to head.
Where is the tended point?
It's done.
PR. Did you? How do you know the search?
Okay, let's get again. The variable change to height. Okay, any questions so far?
I have to work.
so,
Yeah.
often the code push to the SN.
Nobody.
You destroyed.
So you can just deploy.
Yes, because we are on the testnet, and when I push it, I use the address as a default, the test address.
So is this contract living in my MetaMask or where is it? Is it on the?
I'll go after this. Next system I'll answer your question. Okay. Any other question?
How much is it to similar?
Depend on what network you are deploying. For example, on Metis it's about 4 cents per transaction. 4 cents per
It's very cheap.
In the past it was very expensive.
Quite nice question.
Yeah.
So far we have just the witness on hacker and we have advised.
We did a very easy smart contract. We compiled it. We deployed on Ethereum on the default testnet of Remix. And we tested. Yes.
Where do we see the end of Earth as the road?
Oh, you missed it. When we deployed, first I push the get and it show up the hello world.
Okay.
Under this. Did you write that?
I click on that one. Get call.
You saw that?
So like in the real world, if you click set, would you charge Ethereum? Yes. There's not gets a free, right?
Reading is free, writing is I'll show you next step when I use the command. When you push the get, it's free, it doesn't show up to confirm the gas fee. And if you push set, it will show up to the
How much would a smart contract cost to put it on the Ethereum network?
It depends how much code they
Code.
put.
How about this one?
This is very cheap. Maybe
About $20.
No.
less than $1.
Like
Less than $1.
and was what you get.
Any other question? Sorry?
Yes. Zero.
Zero?
And shit.
Any questions so far? Okay. Next step, you are going to deploy the same smart contract on Metis with MetaMask.
Okay. Okay. They keep installed the crypto
Before going for next step, when you put your smart contract on a network, you need to spend money, the gas fee. In the default of Remix Ethereum, it gave you a test token by default. If you are going to use different chains like Metis, you need to get some test token to be able to deploy your code into the Metis. Right now, we are going to get some test token. Everybody has MetaMask set up on your browser?
Yeah.
Okay.
One question. Can you please explain the key distinguishing differences between Metis and Polygon? They both are layer 2 scaling solutions.
Yes.
But I don't understand what Metis does that Polygon can't.
You know, different layer 2 of Ethereum, they provide different algorithms to bundle the transaction and put them on the layer 1. Each one has different algorithms. What Metis was supposed to minimize the gas fee. It was the cheapest gas fee amongst all the other networks. And this is a separate subject.
If I would into that, that's like a fantasy.
Yeah.
Metis code is basically eternal, like they follow the eternal code and they modify it and
Ethereum?
Metis.
Metis is layer 2 on top of Ethereum. It's the same structure. They bundle the transaction and push them all together. As a result, the gas fee is
Code
much
is the same, like Metis, they write the code again or they copy, they follow the eternal code and they make changes. Okay, doesn't matter again, just curious.
Yeah. Let's go back to the coding for now.
Another question I have, you can get free test tokens, right? Yes. So how does Metis make sure, let's say 10,000 developers decided to create a denial of attack, let's say, right? How do you limit the number of?
Let me show you.
Okay, thanks.
And from docs.metis.io, click on Metis developer documentation. And in the left panel, you can see getting test tokens. And from here, you can go to this link, early facet Metis DevOps.link.
Good.
Sorry.
Connect to your MetaMask.
Good side. And three.
And make sure you have Metis early testnet on your MetaMask.
Can we actually add that? Like, can we show
How to do
Yeah.
Okay, sure. Okay, so let's talk about how you can connect your MetaMask to Metis test. If you go back to docs.metis.io, here you have a MetaMask setting here. Go to chainlist.org and search for Metis. Make sure you switch the testnet. And there are Metis early testnet. It was the old Metis testnet.
Don't use that, it's not working anymore.
Use Metis early testnet and connect one. By pushing this, your MetaMask will connect to
your
yes. After you connect to early testnet, you can go back here. Go to your MetaMask, copy your wallet address. If you go to MetaMask, you should be able to see the Metis request interruption and copy the wallet address.
Wallet address, this word,
And paste it in this text box and push rip.
to forge the city.
The grade is
Little.
because of this. This is answer to one. If you can just get the ones one the test token, it doesn't allow you to set. When you first time that, you get 5 minutes, and 5 minutes is enough for entire load like that. Tokens. Yeah. Thank you.
So I did that, but I didn't get any.
It shows you the complete.
So maximum once every 24 hours.
Yeah, same thing. No,
I like had
Did you check your account?
Yeah, same. Maybe you should.
Yeah, no, I got the same problem.
You might have to toggle, like, go to the connections, or go to the top of the MetaMask, and you gotta toggle. Maybe manage extension, then get out of the,
So go back to like Ethereum and then come back.
you know, I think I'll toggle that and out, start, restart.
We say something
All they have to add is the extension.
Okay.
Send you like send to
Because
creation of wallet put your
If you send address to the Metis Telegram group, I'm sure that somebody is
Because it's only one product.
Okay, I'm going to deploy on this.
That's something with value. It's not like
When you're going to deploy your smart contract on different chain, you have to select inject provider. You can use MetaMask to select what chain you want to inject. I'm going to use provider 0.75. Connected to my MetaMask. And here is my address. It shows 6.9 Ether, which is
Not Ether, it's
Yeah, it's not.
I have 6.9.
Yeah. But you just send me some.
Oh, okay.
And with that setting, when you just push the deploy, it deploy on Metis. What difference? Yeah, it, yeah. This is the cost. This is the cost of this is smart contract.
First, do you think you are
0, 0, 0, 0.
Excuse me? And there's like a
Why? Because when you use injected provider MetaMask, it use the MetaMask setting to authenticate with the blockchain. So it is the doorkeeper for companies to their chain. Because we already it tries to deploy the system content
and grab yourself files, man, yourself. Because it's basically
Okay, everybody. Did you see this? Okay. Can I have everyone's attention?
Yeah, sure.
How did I start?
how do you like that?
I selected the environment injected provider MetaMask.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
And when you push the deploy, it opens up MetaMask to use this amount of Metis to deploy.
Oh, hang on, I still have 0 about it, so I have to figure this out.
Yeah.
I'll give you the first dollar of the plus. I'll give you
Everybody, please attention. Everybody, please. Okay, I'm going to deploy this smart contract on Metis. The way I'm going to use injected provider MetaMask as an environment. With that setting, if I push the deploy button, it tries to use MetaMask as a doorkeeper to connect to the Metis and deploy this smart contract on Metis. Okay? So I selected injected MetaMask. If I push the deploy button, one step before. Before that, I set the environment, the network on Metis BUIDL testnet. Because we have already this setting, and we selected the environment injected provider from MetaMask, it gets the network information from selected network and tries to deploy on that environment, which is Metis right now.
I don't know why, but it doesn't allow me to change the environment. I don't know if anyone is to do that. It's just I click on inject provider, but doesn't allow me to have this.
Injected share provider.
Yeah, like MetaMask issue. I choose that one, and it's
I'll come to your.
Okay, thank you.
And when you select, you push the deploy, it opens up the MetaMask. What it says you are trying to deploy your smart contract here, contract deployment, and the gas fee is 0.00040. This is the price of deploying your smart contract on Metis. It's very cheap, less than a cent.
Oh, it works with your hotspot.
It works because it's a different.
Everybody hotspots their Metis. Yeah, and
I'm going to confirm it. I confirm and deploy is done. You already deployed. on Metis BUIDL. Any question?
Now that I got some money.
Sorry?
Yes.
How to?
That's only one.
Contracts?
It calculates quite the network.
You don't. Based on the complexity of code, it tells you this much you got.
Oh, okay.
You don't.
Yes. The question when you are trying to deploy, the first development shows which environment you want to use to deploy. There are some predefined issues like Remix VM London, Remix VM Berkeley, and different providers, right? Like Hardhat. It tries to use the data applications to deploy interact with the blockchain. What we use injected provider MetaMask. We use MetaMask to connect. It's 61.0 C. It's the same account that I have on MetaMask. It's here. Your MetaMask, it will show up here. You can select the one that you want to use to deploy or interact. Here is the gas limit. You say, okay, whatever gas fee you want to take from me, this is the maximum I want to pay. You can set the maximum of gas fee that you want to spend for this deployment.
How did you add your wallet address in there?
It came automatically when you selected MetaMask. It got the value from your MetaMask.
Mine didn't do that.
Yours did on this.
Wait, I'll try again to discount.
When you're perhaps so.
When you click injected, it should prompt your MetaMask to open.
Oh, it just did that. Oh, now I have mine.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, come back.
Yes, okay,
Just come. We have a help what? Not even the what it is.
I did, yeah.
Yes, you connected to the mainnet. You have to go back to the chain.
Does it say hello world 3 now?
If you go there,
You have to deploy.
Why did it say anything?
Okay. What if I raise the DeFi? Where the put?
Look at the of it. Here's the pen. He's told great use and every other soldiers. They're in the tower. Cost of the money. Yes, they're with the whole seed list.
Okay, we already deployed on Metis. What if I push to get? What should I get?
Should say hello world.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So what if I set my name? Get show. What should I expect when I push the set? Exactly. It opens the MetaMask and it asks me, okay, here is a fee for setting that variable. Yes. And when we write something on the network, there are costs associated. If you, doesn't matter how many times I push the get, reading something from a network is free. So reading from the network is free, and when you want to write something on the network, there are costs. When we deploy, when we set some variables, it has costs. Yes.
I have always question. How do you prevent somebody from turning the network of sending millions of read calls, right? Like how do you prevent denial of like AD or something? Reading is free, right? So somebody sends a million reads at the same time.
That's it. Because we have EVM, you connect to one node of the network. You have you send a request to that node, and that node responds to you. It doesn't affect all other nodes. But when you write something on that node, it expands to all other nodes. Each node has a repository of all the information of the network. Yeah. Okay. Okay, guys. I think we are done with this workshop. We are not going further. There was one question I wanted to ask to answer in the next slide, but we didn't get time. There are one difference between memory and storage. When I created a variable in the body of the smart contract, it is source that value into the storage, and it has when we use the memory, we say, okay, keep it on the memory. Memory is free because it's temporary. When you pass something to the smart contract, it takes that and use it and leave it. If I say something very simple, memory is like a RAM in a computer, and storage is like a hard drive in the computer. And whatever you write in the storage, it will keep in the network, in the blockchain. Whatever you put on the memory, in the RAM, it's just for temporary. I don't know. We have to see this.
Where does it say hello?
Like you said, you have to.
You missed that. And I first pushed the dev, it was hello. After that, you deploy.
You can run it through. Isn't it for like 500 gigs? It's not. It's only 500 gigs. No.
Now, right?
Eventually, yeah. But I mean, eventually, you know, this size is going to be it's 500 gigs. One is 100. This is
It should be show up on the blockchain. There's each blockchain offer that we see in the public.
Say hello.
What you mean the Explorer?
Yeah, Explorer, yeah. Can you see this on the Explorer?
This one?
What is the player? So you get into the left pattern.
Okay. Thank you so much. Here is the testnet explorer. With this you can see all transactions on the network. We have Andromeda mainnet, and here is the testnet. I'm going to see the smart contract I already deployed.
Which is
If I go to wireless and configure the transaction hash, and search it here.
it tries to hide the code that it is the first concept which is usually just default.
So how do you want to get it without having to set up?
Maybe define the fact is just okay. We lost really bad. So we go.
This is one of the transaction on let's go and say it's the address of the complex. So if you come here in the code, there are some steps you can do to verify the code, and you can find it verify the contract.
Is it similar to like to verify?
Similar, if you go to our dot.service.com, verifying the contract, you can see the steps.
When you have the construction, you need like to take the code and copy paste it and take it to the stuff which is like this. Sometimes it works. Yeah. It's for everybody, yeah. It's not for me. For everybody.
For your reference, we have all these steps in our dumps.metis.io. So you can go there and try
that information.
And one more thing. I encourage everybody to join the
video showing.
What is it, Discord?
We have a Discord and we have Telegram.
This with
Yeah. Here is our Metis_dev on Telegram. You can go there, go on code, sample code is there. You can take it. It was explaining how you can use Chainlink to get the Metis price or Ethereum price and use that in your contract. For example, if you want to use the rate to calculate some price in your smart contract, you can use that. It's there. And we have a Discord as well if you want to connect to the community and be in touch with that.
You can generate the QR code out of the Discord.
From Discord, how should we do that? Please everybody, if you go to Metis.io website, in the community page, we have all our social media links there. You can go to the Telegram groups or Discord. You can find the Discord. Okay, thank you everybody.
Thank you.